Hello, everyone. Welcome to What CXOs Do Not Tell You, a series where I speak with the bright and bold minds in the industry and academia. Today, we have a special guest from Sydney, Australia. Listen to his perspective. Views shared by the speakers are entirely personal.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. My guest today is Mukesh Sahdev, founder, CEO of X-Analysts, building value proposition around competency development in commodity market. He was with Rystad Energy as Senior Vice President and Chief Oil Analyst. Mukesh has more than 30 years in oil and gas industry, a veteran who has served in Shell, Indian Oil, and Rystad. He's one of the go-to voices in the oil industry. Very warm welcome to you, Mukesh, and welcome you to today's session.
Thanks, Amit. Good to be back with you. We go long way back, so it's really pleasure to be here today with you.
It's my pleasure as well. Thank you, Mukesh. Uh, Let me start setting this with some of the context for everyone about the industry at large and listen to you about this. The world today consumes about 180,000 trillion watt hour of energy in all its forms. This is every year. Still, out of that, the 80% is contributed by hydrocarbons. Okay. And though we are talking about transition in the energy for a long time, whether it is green hydrogen, green ammonia, even the erstwhile renewable energy, how do you see next 30 years shaping up in form of the larger energy and the energy market? And the second point associated to that is, do you also see that there would be a skill requirement which is also going to be different than what it is today? Kesh.
Excellent question, Amit. What I would say is that 30 years is a long time. And now I believe everyone is trying to form a view of the future through multiple scenarios, right? And we usually used temperature degree scenarios. What I would say is that the energy transition, despite the sentiment and the news headlines, is slowing down. I think energy transition is accelerating, number one. Number two, I would say is that there is even a transition between transition. And to give you one example, I believe the way the data centers power consumption have come up, right? And it will become a big part of the future demand. Suddenly we are finding that the data centers electricity demand could be even higher than the EVs from a growth point of view. So there is a transition between transition. So if we extrapolate to 2030, I think few things emerge very clear in my mind. One, there is divergence of views among the consultants, among the analysts in the market, and that's a recipe for volatility. So I see huge volatility ahead, which means, of course, I come from a trading background. I think this is fantastic from a trading opportunities perspective. If we then look at a little bit history of how things have changed over a period of time. I remember, Amit, in 2012, in my Shell strategy days, we used to talk about diesel is king and gasoline is dead, and that led to big refinery changes. And the entire Middle East went ahead and started doing big refinery projects to build the hydrocrackers and machines to make more and more diesel. And now that has happened. The COVID happened, the Ukraine war happened, and Middle East is now a big supplier of diesel and jet to the European markets. But look what has happened again, that there is a penetration and there is a growth happening in the hybrids, and those hybrids are calling for higher gasoline demand. So there might be some, reduction in diesel demand in Europe and higher gasoline demand. So I would say that there is so much of a transition between transition happening. You may have seen, I may have, seen a lot of smooth lines get drawn when we try to paint a picture of the future. but they will not be smooth lines at all. And within that space, one thing which you touched upon, and I want to come back to that, is uh, how does the analysis part? I mean, I'm an analyst for life, and I'll say that the old models do not work, Amit, now, right? There is no precedent. We have started using the word unprecedented probably too many times. So we have too much data, we have too much analysis. So from a skills point of view, one thing I very firmly believe, this requires taking very integrated view, a 360-degree view across commodities, not just focus on one commodity. And also, I would say lot and lot more emphasis on original thinking, on creative thinking of problems, because now the data itself, despite being so high, the markets have actually become more opaque. And you know how EIA data, IEA data, China data, Russia data, we have the data, but we don't trust the data as much as we used to do. So the skill would be really creative understanding, connecting the dots. That's how I see,
Mhm.
at least now, and I see that this trend will continue for a long time.
Good point. So even from a skill point, you see that looking at data, how they're connected, is going to be fundamentally important, and hence the understanding of the industry and the background is going to be crucial for them. Okay,
No, very, very rightly put on it.
thank you. Uh, you said that at core you are an analyst. You mentioned volatility is the harbinger or the connectedness towards trading. Smooth lines do not happen, right?
Yeah.
In 30 seconds, if you would
Mhm.
explain, okay, a futurist vision of energy as a trader, as one who has been practitioner for 3 decades, uh, just a 30-second view from a futurist, Mukesh. You.
One very important thing is the demand is dented and the demand dent is real. We have lost huge demand to EVs, to fuel efficiencies, but the supply dent is in the struggle mode. That's number one. Number two, this will continue, and probably there might be a scenario where demand stays longer and we have a bigger dent on the supply side. So we might go into the other side of the pendulum and we might see oil prices back up again. So, from a futurist and being an analyst on the oil side, I would say the oil prices will probably go down and we might land into situations that we need more investments in the hydrocarbons. And then we will probably achieve some convergence between the different sources of energy.
Thank you. I think that's a very solid point because those are all evolving as of now. As we progress further, this industry of ours is very unique. It has brought in a lot of different innovative methods. Besides this having contributed trillions of dollars in value in form of dividends, in form of share buyback to the shareholders. What I hear and when we go to other industries where they look forward to learn very different things from oil and gas are the solutions that the oil and gas has put forward to. Okay, when I go and talk to my customers in the agriculture sector, which is again another big commodity, they talk about learnings from crack spread and the methods of safety, MOCs, all of that. So, looking at the mirror of the solutions that this industry provides, what would be your advice as learning that would be useful to other industries?
Again, I think a question which prompts me Amit, to think a little bit deeply before I answer that. Uh, A few things that come to my mind. Number one, you're right. The crude market is probably the biggest market. You take 85 million barrels per day times the $70 price. It's a $2 trillion market we are talking about. One big shift that has taken place in the oil and the crude market is the emergence of the virtual market, the paper market, which has become, I believe, 25 to 30 times the physical market. And that has brought, I would say, huge number of people and institutions and companies into trading the oil side of the game. And that has provided, I would say, very good liquidity. That has provided very good volatility. So if I extrapolate, I believe that is something that will happen in the other commodity markets, which sometimes might be just physical and there not be much future markets. So emergence of future markets in other commodities, other sectors is something I believe is a given. Uh, and then I would say the second point is that the oil market is analyzed to death, right? And we have the most advanced approaches, techniques, technology, and the brains put into. So there is a lot of learning which we can take from the oil market side to the any commodity. At the end of the day, everybody tries to forecast the market using a bit of history, using a bit of imagination and modeling. I think those techniques are so sophisticated and developed. And because there is money, big money in the oil markets, I think those are easily, I would say, would be used for other sectors and commodities. The last point, maybe, what I would say is that integrated. I think now the whole system is becoming so integrated that the time to look at isolated sectors is gone. Look at China, for example, right? China was a big consumer of diesel, huge country, moves trucks and many things across, and was a global factory. But what we have seen is now big emergence of the LNG trucks coming into the market using the gas side. As the LNG trucks were growing, we learned that the electric trucks also are coming big way and eating demand from LNG trucks. So understanding the oil side, understanding the gas side, understanding the electric side, I think looking at maybe if I have to summarize, we started with solid fuels, coal and other things. Then we went into the liquid era. We will probably are in a mix of gas era, and now the electrons era is there. So solid, liquid, gas, and electrons, the integrated understanding of all of these will probably become the most important factor. And I guess that in order to, let's say, bring the best of the oil analysis to other commodities, that has what kind of given me the passion and driven me to form the X Analyst Summit. So I'm really excited about what you just asked and the future.
Surely. See, the lucid way in which you explain that it has been a journey from the solid to liquid to gas, electrons, and maybe it's a hybrid world where things will exist and coexist very differently. And the complexity of handling that by an analyst, looking at data and behind the data, because data tells its truths only in certain way, right, is what is going to make a big decision maker in this whole hybrid view going up to electron. Thank you. This is very insightful, Mukesh. We are at a very interesting inflection point. Okay, there is this transition happening. You just mentioned that in certain forms. Beyond this aspect of the product view, the transition is also getting inspired and influenced by the geopolitics. Climate, which you mentioned, the whole way of temperature sensitization based on which this is being modeled, is becoming important. Regulations, okay, are playing a big role, and we see they're being also being challenged as we go between regions, countries across all of these. And then comes the new uh, kid. Technology we always thought as an enabler. Now this is emerging as a disruptor in a big way. So, what will be your mantra to the budding leaders and the established leaders to shape their competencies when things are so dynamic, Mukesh?
Mhm. I think there has to be some big shift with the whole AI coming into the place. I think AI is going to be a big enabler and a big disruptor. I welcome AI. I think when I speak to a lot of young people, they fear the AI will take the jobs. And my view is that AI make AI your friend, and then you will succeed more. Uh, but in order to succeed with AI as well, one very clear thing that comes in my mind is non-linear thinking, out of the box thinking, creating thinking, and not following just the established norms, ability to stick your neck out with a view And to give you an example, I want to throw out in open, Amit, for the viewers and the listeners here.
Hmm.
When we look at energy transition, we try to paint multiple degree scenarios. We usually show scenarios from 2.5 degree temperatures to 1.5 degree temperatures, right? And then we show that in 2.5 degree temperatures, the oil demand will be very high, and in the 1.5 degree, the oil demand will be very low. I want to question that paradigm. If we really believe in climate change, I don't know whether 2.5 degree scenario, given the way things are, and if we believe all the climate models, the Earth may not be a place to live and grow. And so sometimes I question, maybe the 2.5 degree scenario may have the lowest demand. So we have to just redraw those curves upside down. So I think that kind of a challenging the norms and creative thinking is one big thing which as a competency people needs to think about. The second thing I would say that in the analysis world, and I've seen this for 30 years, the most important aspect of analysis is to have a view, to build a bias against the market. Because we generally say, market knows everything, and market knows the most rational and the most irrational information. It factors everything. So in order to succeed, you have to build a bias against the market, either up or down. And that requires, with this geopolitics, I would say, with AI, there will be a lot of possibly fake data. Sometimes I don't trust what I get back. So you need to double check, double cross the numbers, and understand. And the only way sometimes we get those wrong data points filtered is by doing integrated thinking. We connect multiple data points and the model doesn't fit, and that tells us that there is something wrong. So again, integrated thinking would be key, creative thinking would be key. And I would say last but not least, I was in Singapore recently, Amit, where the entire oil market, oil trading community comes together like a festival. And one thing I learned that there is a big element of sentiment around, and everybody goes starts talking to each other. So there's a lot more human intelligence, human interaction that is needed. So remote working, just Zoom meetings will not cut the deal. You have to go out in open. You have to talk to the people. You have to understand why they are thinking the way they are thinking, and then one can build a good view. So just not be data dependent, but really understand the sentiment in the market, I think would be very, very key. And I worked, as you know, we worked together at Indian Oil. I think I'm really proud of my heritage there at Shell. And of course, my, Rystad Energy, the pioneering work the company is doing, has taught me one thing: the granularity of the data is the key, and only by multiple data sets you will interrogate the data and come and make some insights which are not easy to find. So a lot of hard work. AI is, hopefully AI doesn't make us lazy. I see use AI to become even more hard work.
Excellent. So I get certain perspective from you, which I have listed it down, and I just want to mention this to the viewers and the audience who are seeing this today. We all know the volatility is the reason why the trading needs to be done and looked into in a more scientific way. There are no smooth lines. Smooth line is like death. Right? It's the line which always keeps moving. Very interesting suggestion. Make AI your friend. Okay, so that's a very key takeaway uh, for me and my viewers. You also suggested on the same line is the non-linear thinking. What I found most interesting, I have not heard this view from anyone else. Maybe others are talking about, but I am not aware. The climate model, 2.5 degree, 1.5 degree. People are so jubilant about the hydrocarbon in the 2.5. You contradicted that. And you said because the world will be so inhabitable, maybe the things might need to be looked very drastically then. Okay, and it might be a sudden step, not a step which is staged in a proper transition way. It's actually an eye opener in many ways for people who are listening to reflect back on this particular thing. There are biases, and reading a data as a data is not enough. Absorbing data from different sources, be it AI, be it non-AI, is where you need to bring your integrated thinking. Talk to people, connect with people, understand the behavior of data by doing all of this in a cohesive way. This is a big takeaway coming from oil and gas expert. Now, before I close, where are you heading next, Mukesh? Where are you going to?
Thank you, Amit. Well, my energy comes from meeting people.
Okay.
So I'm heading early October to UAE, Fujairah. There is a big energy markets forum happening there, which will dabble into all kinds of energy questions and debate, from geopolitics to supply demand balances and various agencies. So I look forward to meeting people from different views, different companies. And now I think the best part, Amit, is that being an independent will drive me even to do a greater non-linear thinking. And if I may not have the answers, but I want to ask very good questions. And that is only possible when you go around and listen to everyone. So Fujairah is probably, I'm going there next summit.
Thank you, Mukesh. You have a very safe trip to Fujairah and wish you very best for your new venture, the new initiative that you have started, Ex-Analyst. Wish you very best. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Mukesh.
Thank you, Amit.